Hello and welcome to Access Asia. Coming up, brainwashing and torture. France 24 goes undercover in China, where 1 million Uyghur are thought to be held against their will. Whether by drowning, being hit by a train, or falling, researchers estimate half of the world's selfie deaths occur in India. And as Bangladesh is on the front line of climate change, some communities are adapting, giving up dry land to live more and more on the water. And we begin with our exclusive report on Uyghur detention in Xinjiang, China. An estimated 1 million of the Muslim minority are being held in detention camps. Our reporters Angelique Forget and Antoine Védillier gained rare access to the region, as well as crisscrossing the world to speak to a lucky few who got out. Here's a clip of their documentary, which you can find in full on our website.
Seragul Sotbey is Chinese of Kazakh ethnicity. In November 2017, she was forcibly taken to a camp and made to teach Mandarin to detainees. Released 4 months later without knowing why, today she lives in exile. This is the first time she's spoken in front of a camera.
Every day I had to make the prisoners work. I needed to make them say hundreds of times, thousands of times, "I am Chinese, I am proud of China." When I went to the class, there were 2 armed policemen following behind me. When I gave the lessons, they stayed behind me. Everything I taught was recorded, and the policemen stayed at the door.
She says there were 2,500 detainees of Kazakh or Uyghur ethnicity inside the camp. On several occasions, Seragul says she witnessed violence.
Sometimes when I was giving the class, the armed policemen burst into the classroom. 2 or 3 people would be forcibly removed from among the detainees. I never saw those people again. Sometimes in the evening at dinner, we would hear people calling out for help. Those voices, they were the saddest voices I've ever heard. We thought they were being tortured.
According to Seragul, these prisoners taken in for re-education were instead being tortured and abused. She says there were other abuses.
The prisoners were also given injections. They weren't shots that were meant to heal them. They were injections that were like torture. They were used to take control of their minds. The people in the camps had no strength to rebel.
Injections to make prisoners docile. In Istanbul, Gulbahar Celilova told us that she was also subjected to injections in the camp where she spent more than a year.
They injected us from time to time. We had to stick our arms out through a small opening in the door once a week. We soon realized that after the injections, we didn't get our periods anymore. Mine stopped 1 month after the start of my detention. Then we no longer thought about anything. We no longer thought about our relatives, our families. I didn't know where I'd been born. I felt like I'd always lived there. We no longer felt the cold and the hunger. It's as if we were just pieces of meat that had been put there.
It's an ignominious title for India, the world capital for selfie deaths. Researchers estimate that about half of the so-called killfies worldwide occur in the country. Clement Bonnereau has the details.
This is the tallest bridge in New Delhi. With its unique architecture, it's become a magnet for selfie lovers. Dozens come here every day to take a picture of themselves, despite the heavy traffic.
Yes, it's dangerous. Sometimes you just don't notice the cars around you. You have to be careful.
We would do anything to take a good selfie.
Extreme selfies are the latest trend in India, but the pursuit of the perfect snapshot sometimes takes a tragic turn. In this photo, a group of Indian students posed lying down on the edge of a cliff. As they got up, one of them lost his footing and fell. This young man, meanwhile, was recording a selfie video when he was hit by a train. He survived but suffered multiple injuries.
There are selfie deaths.
India holds the record for the most selfie-related accidents globally, with 159 deaths reported between 2011 and 2017. Raman Pejai was still a student when he nearly drowned in a river while taking selfies with his friends. To prevent accidents, he's developed an app that warns users of potential sources of danger.
Selfies are a really great way of capturing your memories, but when we get carried away too much and when you try to not bother about your surroundings and when you just keep clicking selfies, when you get addicted to it, it becomes a problem.
The obsession with taking selfies is a growing concern in India, one that should be treated as a mental health issue, according to this psychologist.
The intention is to be out there, be daring. The riskier I become, the more entertainment it's going to create for my social media platform. Selfies that way have also become have become an extension of addictions.
Indian authorities too have been trying to raise awareness about the dangers of taking selfies. In Goa, the local council has identified a number of no-selfie zones, deploying lifeguards to enforce the new rules.
My friend, please come out. This is not a selfie zone. Before there happens lots of incidents of spine injury, fractures, but now we are taking special care with the signboards and the flags.
Those caught breaking the rules face a fine of up to €15. A reminder that no selfie is worth dying for.
Well, due to its geographical location, Bangladesh is disproportionately affected by climate change. Rising water levels could one day lead to a mass exodus of millions of people. Nicholas Rushworth has more.
It is a school bus and classroom. This boat in western Bangladesh goes from stop to stop, picking pupils up. Once all are aboard, time to work. There are 20 or so floating schools in the region. The children know perfectly well why they have to study this way.
When it rains, the streets are flooded and we cannot go to normal school. It's too far to go. That's why they set up schools on boats for us.
Located on a vast delta, most of Bangladesh lies just a few meters above sea level. The country's main rivers regularly overflow. Flooding is worsening due to climate change. Floating schools mean children can continue their education throughout the year. The idea came from Mohammed Rezwan, an architect and pioneer.
The mountains are here and we're here. When the snow melts, the water descends. Can you see? It goes into the ocean, but if there's too much water in the rivers, what happens? Yes, flooding.
Rezwan started his first floating school in 2002. He designed them to withstand heavy rain and to work using solar energy.
This big challenge is going to come in the future. Scientists say that by 2050, 16% of the land might go underwater.
The project has widened. There are floating libraries, training centers and clinics. This boat will be a floating playground. The vessels are a sort of Noah's Ark for people in this part of Bangladesh who realize they cannot win in the battle against rising water levels and climate change.
Well, Uzbekistan has taken a series of reforms, hoping that one day you will visit. After being closed for decades, the Central Asian nation wants to attract tourists and new revenue. Aranogan Kaye has more.
It's the beating heart of Central Asia. 3 of Uzbekistan's cities were key stops along the Silk Road, for centuries a crossroads of Eastern and Western culture. Among them, Samarkand. Its name alone evokes traders' caravans, Arab and Mongol invasions. With its colorful madrasas, mosques, and unique architecture, it's paradise for adventure lovers and history aficionados.
Look at the face depicted on the facade. It shows that Islam was the dominant religion, but remnants of the prior dominant religion also remain.
For nearly 30 years, former President Islam Karimov kept the country relatively closed off to foreign visitors. When he died in 2016, his successor changed course, opening Uzbekistan's doors to the outside world. He lifted visa restrictions for some 40 countries with the objective of increasing tourism fivefold over 5 years. In 2018, tourism to the country doubled compared with 2017.
We weren't expecting to see so many different things and such beautiful renovations.
Just a 2-hour-long train journey away from Samarkand, the city of Bukhara. Here, perhaps more so than anywhere else in Uzbekistan, the country's dedication to developing its hospitality industry is manifest. It's a direct order from the government. Everything must be done to ensure travel and visits across the country are as easy and comfortable as possible. Encouraged by the government's efforts, Alexander Aludinov decided to add 10 rooms to his establishment. Renovations he expects will prove profitable in just a few years.
Local representatives come and ask us if there are any problems and look for possible solutions to them. And that's new.
Renovations are ubiquitous. New hotels are springing up like mushrooms, and construction companies are hiring like never before. But a crop of people trained to work in the newly blossoming industry is perhaps what is most lacking, at least in this desert region. So instead of looking for work in Russia, a new wave of young Uzbeks is turning to tourism degrees, hoping that will increase their chances of sustaining a livelihood in Uzbekistan. Much remains to be done before the country becomes a top tourist destination on the Asian continent. But it's undeniably on the right path to recovering its past glory.
That's it for this edition. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned to France 24.